Welcome to Making Memoir Magic, the podcast where we unlock the power of your story and guide you through the magical process of turning life experiences into memoirs that inspire and impact. I'm your host, Carrie Kreisman, a memoir mentor and storytelling champion, and I'm here to help you find the courage to embrace your unique story and share it with the world. Whether you're just starting out or refining your final draft, this is the place to be for practical tips, inspiration, and the encouragement you need to write the memoir only you can tell. Ready to make some magic? Let's dive in. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Making Memoir Magic podcast. I'm Carrie Kreisman, memoir teacher, coach, and author of Accidental First Lady. And I'm someone who recently discovered that adulthood apparently comes with an unpaid side hustle, and that's called case management. So keep listening to know exactly what I'm talking about. And I'm sure you can relate for anyone living in these times and dealing with things that, maybe we shouldn't always have to be dealing with, but having done so got me thinking about something. So this is what this podcast is all about. So last week felt like my husband and I had taken on additional roles of investigators, documentarians, customer service specialists, and amateur attorneys all rolled into one. Well, actually, he is an attorney, so I would be the amateur. But here we go. That's what our week was about. And honestly, and it can be kind of exhausting. But if you can't take something from an experience and learn from it, then what is the value in having had that experience? So I always feel like everything that we go through in life prepares us for something else and also gives us lessons that we can maybe impart in other areas. So what I'm going to talk about are some personal experiences that happened to me and my husband last week, and that have to do with our home, but how, because they were on my mind so much, got me thinking about how they can pertain to writing and expressing ourselves and memoir. So a little bit of background. Our new roof was supposed to be finished last Tuesday. I am recording this podcast today. So it got finished, but it wasn't finished on the day that it was supposed to be finished. And now it's not a matter of just getting a roof. There is a dumpster that goes behind our house because we have an alley and we park in our garage. So that meant we had to park our cars on the street. And my husband and I have electric cars, and the charging station is in the garage. So that meant that we couldn't charge our cars. So yes, anytime you do something to your house, it is an inconvenience. But if you're promised that it's only going to be for a certain amount of time, you prepare for that and you expect it. And that didn't happen. There was a series of mishaps that caused the roof work to not be started until Saturday, which I know our neighbors loved. Thankfully, one side of the neighbors were out of town and the other one, he was cool. He didn't care. But it's not just the roof. Our brand new tile floor in the foyer of our house started discoloring after just a few weeks post-installation. And despite an independent inspector coming out to confirm that the issue had nothing to do with what we were doing in how we cared for it, nobody wants to accept blame for how this tile became discolored and is uncleanable. Another thing, a package that I sent to family in Michigan to celebrate the arrival of a new baby has apparently been sitting at the FedEx warehouse 40 minutes from their home since May. Not lost, just sitting there, but no one can seem to find it. It hasn't been delivered, and it just sits somewhere. Maybe it'll arrive someday, maybe it won't. But the bottom line with all of these was that at first, no one could give us answers. They had plenty of excuses, but no answers. It took us following up, making our case. Thankfully, I persisted with the roof, and even though we had out-of-town guests over the weekend, they still came on Saturday and got it done. We all survived the 6:15 a.m. wake-up call on a Saturday with the pounding, and life is good. And with the FedEx package, We have a resolution with that, thankfully. I'm going to have to get new gifts for the family members, but we've gotten a refund, and it looks like we're going to be getting new flooring. But this has been going on for months. And so something, oh, I forgot to say, something shifted in our attic when they removed the solar panels on our roof. And so we have a small hole in our kitchen ceiling, another repair. So now I know that none of these things are life threatening. Okay. The ability to get a new roof, to get new tile for our foyer, to buy baby gifts, those are privileges. And in the reality of it all, they're first world problems. Okay. We're surviving, but it's taking an inordinate amount of our personal time and time away from our jobs to do this. So hang with me. You're probably wondering why you know too much about what's going on in my house and my personal life, but there's a reason that I'm sharing all of this with you. Okay. So between the phone calls, the photos, the documentation, case numbers, follow-ups, and follow-ups to the follow-ups, my husband and I joke that we've been spending more time managing these situations than we have been enjoying summer. And more than once over the past few weeks, we found ourselves asking the same question. What happens to the people who don't have the energy for this? Okay, we're two of us doing this together. All right. Can you imagine one person who just doesn't have it in them to be persistent or even know who to call or how to rectify a situation? I always think of what happens to the elderly person living alone, the exhausted caregiver, the overwhelmed parent, the person who doesn't know how to advocate for themselves, or the person who simply gives up. I think that's what a lot of these companies depend on us doing, is giving up. Do they get left behind? And that has been a question that I've been unable to shake, because increasingly modern life requires an extraordinary amount of self-advocacy. So thinking about all of this over the past few months, but really the last week, with the addition of the roof issue and the ongoing other issues I mentioned, it hit me. Okay. Writing your memoir asks you to do something remarkably similar. Okay. If you think about it, when you are sharing your story, you are advocating for it, for your experiences, for the right and permission to tell your story. And one of the biggest misconceptions I hear from aspiring memoir writers is this: my story isn't important enough. My childhood was ordinary. Nothing dramatic happened to me. Who would want to read about my life? In other words, they deny their own claim before anyone else has the chance. And I understand why. Many of us were raised to not make too much noise, to not brag, and not take up much space. Certainly not center ourselves in the middle of someone else's universe, especially women, and especially people over 50, especially caregivers, especially people who spent decades making sure everyone else's needs were met first. Memoir asks something different of us. It asks us to become advocates of our own experiences. So it asks us to say, this mattered. In fact, it asks us to declare that this mattered. Fundamentally say, this shaped me. This deserves to be remembered. No one else can make that case for you. No one else remembers exactly how your grandmother's kitchen smelled when the sauce simmered all afternoon. No one else remembers the sound your father made when he laughed so hard he couldn't finish the story. No one else remembers the yellow Formica kitchen table, or the first apartment, or the Christmas everyone still talks about, or the summer your life quietly changed direction. If you don't preserve those moments, they disappear. Not all at once, but gradually. One detail at a time, one name at a time, one story at a time. When I wrote my memoir, I wasn't writing about major historical events. I was writing about family dinners, my frustrations, my struggles, personal and private, and health-wise too, the private ones, health, and just different internal things that I struggled with in a role that I had never intended. I wrote about campaign seasons and how they changed. I wrote about marriage and motherhood and just ordinary life, because ordinary life is where memoir lives. The stories that shape us are rarely in the headline moments. They're in those conversations in the kitchens, or arguments in the cars, or walks around the neighborhood, or people who noticed when we weren't there, people who wondered about us. Those are the stories that connect readers to our story, and because they make up our lives and our readers can see themselves in those stories. So today, I want to offer you a different way to think about your memories. Okay. So instead of asking, is this important enough? Try asking, why has this memory stayed with me? Because memory is selective. There are entire years we barely remember, and there are moments we can still smell, hear, feel decades later. The smell of sunscreen, fresh cut grass, a school cafeteria, coffee brewing in your parents' kitchen, the sound of a screen door closing behind someone who is no longer there. Those memories remain for a reason. Your job as a memoir writer is not to decide whether your story is important enough. Your job is to be curious about why it stayed. Maybe the ordinary moments are the story. Actually, I'm going to say that again. The ordinary moments are often the story of your memoir. So this week's writing invitation is simple. I want you to think about a moment in your life that required persistence rather than brilliance. Like it could be a season of caregiving, a frustrating bureaucracy, a diagnosis, a move, a home repair that became a saga, raising my hand here, and begin with this sentence. What exhausted me most wasn't, you fill in the blanks, it was, you fill in the blanks. See where that takes you. Because often what we discover isn't the story that we thought we were writing, it's the story underneath it. Okay. And you can't get to that story unless you start writing. All right. So often your writing will start as one thing, but it's going to lead you to something else. And quite often it is the gold. I call it the memoir gold of your story. So thank you for spending a few minutes with me today. And thank you for listening to this podcast. If this resonated with you, I invite you to hit follow so that you hear about and know when future episodes are out. Share this with a friend who might need to listen today as well. And check the show notes. I've got an invitation in there for you to join my Memoir Magic for Aspiring Authors Facebook group. And if it sparked a story of your own, I would love to hear from you. Okay. Send me a message over Instagram, email me. All my contact information is there. Follow me on Substack at Nothing is Accidental. And just, I'd love to have you in my community. So if you are carrying a story, this is something I want you to remember. If you are carrying a story that feels important, but you're not quite sure how to begin telling it, that's exactly the work that I love to do. So keep that in mind. Let's figure out how we can work together and how I can help you tell your unique story through memoir. So until next time, keep noticing, keep remembering, and keep making memoir magic. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Making Memoir Magic. I hope today's conversation inspired you to take the next step toward telling your unique story through memoir. Remember, your story matters and someone out there is waiting to read it. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. It helps others find the show. You can also connect with me on my website at carriekreisman.com, on Instagram at carrie.kreisman, or join my Facebook group, Memoir Magic for Aspiring Authors. You'll get more tips and inspiration on your memoir journey. And each Wednesday, I host a Memoir Magic write-in where you get to join other writers to accomplish the often arduous task of getting words on the page. Until next time, Keep writing, keep sharing, and keep making memoir magic.